When the HOA smashed my mailbox and called it community improvement, I decided to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. I didn't yell. I didn't fight. I simply turned their precious security system into their worst nightmare. And when the cameras started going blind one by one, they realized too late that they had picked the wrong homeowner to mess with. Hey everyone, welcome back to another wild HOA revenge story. This one's about a homeowner who used brains, patience, and a little bit of high-tech creativity to bring a tyrannical HOA to its knees. If you love stories where karma comes back full circle, make sure to stick around till the end. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. It all began on a quiet Wednesday morning. The neighborhood was lined with perfect lawns, freshly painted fences, and identical mailboxes standing like soldiers. I had moved into this HOA-controlled community thinking it would be peaceful, safe, clean, and quiet. But I was wrong. The HOA, led by its self-appointed queen, Linda, took community rules to a whole new level. She enforced them like a dictator guarding her empire. The day it started, I was sipping coffee when I heard a crash outside. I rushed out to see two men in bright HOA vests standing beside my fallen mailbox. The post was cracked, the box itself dented and lying face down on the grass. When I confronted them, they simply shrugged and said the mailbox was not in compliance with community standards. I was stunned. I had paid for that mailbox, installed it to code, and even matched the color scheme. But they didn't care. The HOA had decided to replace all mailboxes with new, approved designs. And to make sure everyone complied, they were physically removing the old ones. My frustration grew when I received an email later that day. A fine of $250 for non-compliant mailbox removal delay. I couldn't believe it. They broke my property and fined me for it. Over the next few days, I watched them move from house to house, tearing down mailboxes without permission. Some neighbors complained, but Linda silenced them with threats of increased HOA fees. That's when I realized this wasn't about aesthetics. It was about control. I spent the next night sitting by the window, staring at the HOA's new security cameras. They were everywhere, mounted on poles, street corners, even facing private driveways. Linda had boasted about them in her last email, saying they were for neighborhood safety. But I knew better. They were her eyes, tools to monitor, intimidate, and manipulate. And that's when an idea began to form. I started researching. Late nights, dim screen light reflecting off my coffee mug, I dove deep into community security systems, camera networks, and privacy laws. What I found made me even angrier. Those cameras weren't just watching. They were recording 24/7 and storing data in a central server run by the HOA. My driveway, my mail, my guests, all under Linda's surveillance. She had essentially built a private spy network. But I wasn't about to confront her head-on. No, that would only give her more ammunition. Instead, I planned a quiet retaliation, one that would make every single camera in the neighborhood useless. I started small, gathering information. The brand of cameras, their connection type, the server's IP range. Some of the cameras were motion-activated. Others streamed continuously. Then I noticed something odd. Every time a car drove past, there was a flicker of infrared feedback. It gave me an idea. I built small, invisible light devices, infrared flash emitters that could overload the sensors of the HOA's cameras. With a single beam of invisible light, I could blind them without touching a single piece of hardware. It was perfectly legal and completely untraceable. Over the next few weeks, I installed these little devices in hidden corners, behind my porch light, in my garden gnome, even under my mailbox post. I didn't stop there. I helped a few neighbors with harmless repairs, quietly slipping devices near their property lines. And then on a windy Friday evening, I flipped the first switch. The results were immediate. The HOA's main camera at the entrance flickered, glitched, and went black. One by one, others followed. Within hours, the once all-seeing eye of the HOA had gone blind. Linda panicked. She sent out emergency emails about technical difficulties and called emergency board meetings. I watched from my porch, hiding a satisfied smile, as she walked up and down the street, pointing furiously at cameras that no longer obeyed her. For a few days, peace returned. Without the cameras, the neighborhood felt free again. Kids rode their bikes, neighbors chatted outside without fear of fines for excessive loitering, and people even began to decorate their lawns without permission slips. But Linda wasn't giving up. She hired a local tech company to audit the entire surveillance system. They worked for days checking wiring, routers, and connections. But they found nothing wrong. Everything was technically functional. The cameras were just blind. I made sure my devices emitted light frequencies undetectable to the human eye, so even a technician staring directly at one wouldn't notice the interference. But then Linda started to suspect something. She began patrolling the neighborhood herself, recording with her phone, accusing homeowners of tampering. That's when I decided to escalate. I built a small wireless module, one that emitted randomized IR bursts at specific intervals. This caused the cameras to glitch unpredictably, giving the illusion of ghost activity. Sometimes the cameras showed phantom figures or flickers of motion when nothing was there. Word spread fast. The HOA meetings turned chaotic. Residents complained that the cameras were haunted, that someone was walking the streets at night unseen. Linda's confidence crumbled. She blamed the contractor, then her own board members, until even they began turning on her. Meanwhile, I sat quietly watching the show unfold. But my satisfaction didn't last long, because Linda wasn't just paranoid now. She was desperate. She installed new motion detectors, hired night guards, and even filed a report with the local police claiming sabotage. I knew I had to stay careful. The police came one morning. 2 officers, polite but curious, knocked on doors, asking if anyone had seen suspicious activity. When they reached mine, I offered them coffee, showed them my new approved mailbox, and expressed concern over the strange happenings. They left with smiles and no suspicion. But Linda wasn't convinced. She installed even more cameras, this time newer models with adaptive sensors designed to counter infrared interference. That's when I realized she was learning. I needed a final move, something decisive that would end her control once and for all. I spent the next week building a portable jammer disguised as a garden light. It didn't just blind the cameras. It fried their software temporarily, forcing a total system reset. I placed it near the HOA's central network hub, a small shed beside the community office. On a quiet Sunday evening, I activated it remotely. Within minutes, every screen in the HOA control room went black. The entire network crashed, wiping data logs, camera feeds, everything. When Linda arrived Monday morning, she found chaos. The system wouldn't boot. The contractor refused responsibility, and residents were demanding refunds for security fees. By evening, the HOA board called an emergency vote. For the first time in years, Linda lost her position as president. The new board promised transparency, reduced fees, and better community involvement. Peace finally settled over the neighborhood. The cameras were taken down, replaced by nothing but clear skies and quiet streets. For the first time since moving there, I felt at home. The neighbors smiled again. Lawns grew wild with color and individuality. And the HOA became a normal association, fair and functional. A month later, I passed Linda's house. She was packing boxes into her car, face red with anger and humiliation. She moved away that weekend. Rumor had it she joined another HOA in a different county. I wished them luck. As for me, I buried my little devices, turned off my jammer, and returned to my normal life. But every time I passed that old network shed, I smiled. A quiet reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or violent. It's silent, smart, and poetic. The HOA broke my mailbox to show dominance, but I blinded their empire and made them see that no one can control a community built on fear. They built walls of rules. I built freedom through light. And in the end, light always wins. If you enjoyed watching this story of poetic HOA revenge, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another tale of justice served cold. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if your HOA broke your mailbox?